And here we go. Alright guys, the last time, it has been a long time that we didn't met. You see, you remember? So the last time we met, it was on March 9th. And I'm just going back to what we did the last time rapidly. So we went through the suppliers and expenses, and we finished the entering the history, etc. And we talked about the last time about the purchases. You see, the suppliers and expenses, this module on which we record all the necessary purchases for the company. But we talked about the difference between a quote, an order, and an invoice. I don't know whether you still remember this difference between supplier's quote, supplier order, and supplier's invoice. Guys, what's a quote? Yeah, what's a quote? And in which case we create a quote? See? What's a supplier's
The
quote?
client
Yes.
wants to have information about the price or something like this.
Exact. So it's pro forma invoice, right? Pro forma invoice. If it's the first time, you're right, Zakaria. So if it's the first time that we're dealing with a supplier, so normally we will not be purchasing directly from the supplier. We will go through some, let's say, like we have to know more about the product, about the quality, about the delivery, the shipment period, about the prices, about the terms. So all the things that we need in business are to be included in what we call the supplier code. So the supplier code is important prior to placing an order for a real transaction. You see, so the supplier code is important. So is a prerequisite for let's say validation of a transaction. So for the supplier code, so we created a code. So just this like this. So you find all the things that you need to fill in order to have this code ready. And we create the code, you see, so that we just select the supplier, the code number, what are the items, what are the prices that are offered, is there any terms that are offered also by the supplier. So all the things, so we have to fill in this. and just when creating the code, you see that you click on record. Record, it means that, yes, we're going to record this code. But as I told you, I said that, okay, every time you're going to record a transaction or record an event or something like that. So you go to report and you can click on display expenses transaction detail. This is to see whether or not we do have some transactions to be recorded on the debit and the credit, etc. So as you can see, there is no data to report, you see, and this is important because when it comes to codes, like for order, these are not real transactions. So that's why when we create the code or we create the order, there is no debit credits, so there is no real transaction. So we can just create the code and that's it, and we stop there, and nothing purchased. Like for the order, you can place an order and you can cancel this order in the future, right? So nothing happened, and based on all what we know in accounting with respect to the purchase and the sale, the purchase is not a purchase if there is no goods received by the company. So if there is an invoice, we assume that the goods are received by the company. So therefore, when you create the invoice, you will not find record, but you will find process. Process, it means that it's a real transaction. Sorry, guys. Getting back to, all right, so we created some codes, we created some orders, and also some invoices. So let's remember, guys, what are the invoices that we created in this menu of suppliers and expenses. So you can click on suppliers and supplier invoices, and you click on find invoice. Okay, and you put the search. You see that the search is from January 1st, 2023 to August 31st, 2023. So you click on OK. And you can find in the list that we created three purchase invoices. So the first one is Data International Corporation, the invoice number 380. So that was the transaction number 7. The amount included in this invoice is 2,575. And these are the rest. You see we talk about hard computer, software unlimited, so all of this. So if you would like to see one of these invoices, you can click on select. Okay, and you can find, guys, all the details on this invoice. You see, this is the invoice number 380. The date is the March 2nd, okay, 2023. And this is the item number that we purchased, A18. We purchased a quantity of only one item. It's the web server, and the price that we purchased with is 2,575. So 575. So the total amount is this. All right. But I don't know, guys, whether you realize that we have a total invoice of 2,575. You see. But there is also another information that is important. What is the amount owing, which is 1,575? What do you mean by this? Exact. Is the outstanding balance of payable, of accounts payable with this supplier on this particular invoice. It means that we made a partial payment before, right? A partial payment of 1,000. So because the original amount of the invoice is 2,575 and the balance outstanding is only 1,575, so we made the partial payment of 1,000. Okay, you can close this box, and we go back to supplier invoice. We go to another invoice to check it. And I will be going later on the payments, and I will be asking afterwards about how to get the information on the journal entry from all of this. So how can I see, as a user of this software, the journal entries for all these transactions? Okay. Sorry guys, the software is blocking. It's fine now. Go to find invoice, and we go to another one. Okay, you select. All right. What is the difference between the previous invoice and this invoice? These are two purchase invoice, right? The first one that I showed to you, it was partially paid. And what about this one? You see that it's stamped as paid. So it's an invoice that has been created on the 1st of March 2023. And you see, guys, the order code number 101. It was what? It has been processed, but the history of this invoice, it was linked with the supplier code and a supplier order before. So we do have an order or a code that were created before, prior to this real invoice. Okay. You see, guys, that is temp paid. It means that the amount out is zero, so nothing to remaining or left not yet paid. So it's an amount that is fully paid. So you see that this is how to check whether an invoice is paid or partially paid. All right. In addition to that, so you can go to payments, and under payments, you can find the payment and look for all the payments that you made. Okay, you'll find the list of all the payments that we had. Okay, so for example, All right, that was the 1,000 that we discussed earlier in the first invoice because this is partially paid. Okay, so we go and click on this payment and see what is going to happen. You see, you will find all the details with respect to the partial payments that we made on the invoice or the first invoice. Okay. Do you see, guys, in the table what we have? So it's an invoice payment, the invoice number 380. The original amount is this, and the payment is 1,000 or was 1,000. So that's all. So this is the payment made actually. So we still have the rest, which is 1,575. All right, that's it. So this is what you have to see from the refreshment on this part related to suppliers and expenses module. And before that we go to the clients and revenue and continue working on the sales invoice and what happened in the sales invoice, if there is some returns, if there is some discount, etc., etc. Now I would like to ask you a question about the journal entry, guys. All these journal entries that we recorded with respect to the purchasing invoices or the sales invoices, where we can find them, in which menu we can find this information on the journal entry. All right, do you still remember, guys? You see, when you go to the menu bar, you click on reports, you see reports, and you go to transaction details. Under transaction details, you click on all. Okay, you see, guys, how can I get this journal entry? Okay, so reports, transaction details, all. And then you're going to select the period that you're looking for the journal entry. So it means that if you have in your company, I don't know, 1,000,000 of transactions and you're looking for a particular journal entry, so you can make this search much more accurate by just selecting the start and the finish period. So you remember that the transaction has been processed or has been recorded, let's say the second half of the March, okay, so you see that March 15th, March 31st. So just you limit, let's say, the database to select the journal entries that were recorded during that period. So let's select everything. So, but you have here information also that is important about what? Corrections. Okay, corrections. Did we corrected something? You see? So if you'd like to show these corrections, please keep it checked. If you don't like to see the corrections, so uncheck it. Simple as that. So if you uncheck it and you click on OK, you will find in the database the list of the journal entries that we recorded from January 1st, 2023 to August 31st, 2023. All right. And here we are. So these are the journal entries that we recorded. You see that, for example, on March 1st, that was a journal entry on which we recorded the purchase. You see, purchase of what? It's a debit of manuals. Manuals, it's an inventory account. You see, 1530 manuals, and we created we credited. I'm sorry, accounts payable because it has been a purchase on credit. Let's say also we have another purchase. It's not a purchase, honestly. This is a payment of the previous invoice, you see, because the amount owing in accounts payable is 240, so we're debiting accounts payable, and we credit what? 235.20. This is like the cash account or the checking bank account from where we paid. And you see, guys, that we have what we paid is less than 240. This is because what we do have an early payment purchase discount. So this discount is what is, as you know, guys, it's something like a contra revenue. We call it a contra revenue account. That's why we present it like an expense. You see, the expense account starting with 5. So early payment purchase discount. All right, so we have all the list of these journals, but guys, I do have another question for you to see. I'm just going through a refreshment on all what we did because it has been a long period of time that we didn't met before. So we have, you see that journal number 3, journal number 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, 11, etc. But I don't see the journal 1 and journal 2. Where are these journal 1, journal 2? Why they are not shown in this database? We see the
Because
order
they're
of the
correction.
numbers. Exactly. So because these are corrections, what does it mean? It means that we made a mistake in journal 1 and we reverse it in journal 2. Okay? So if you'd like to see all of this, corrections, so you have just the choice that I showed to you earlier. You go to reports, you have to the transaction details, you click on all, and when making the search, you have to check the corrections, that's all. Check the corrections. Okay. And in the database now you can see the journal 1 and journal 2. And this is clear now that these are related to corrections. Why? Because we recorded something on journal 1 because we debited, you see, for 250. So what was the error? The error is that the amount should not be 250 but should be 240. You see? There was a mistake in the amount that we record with. So in the software, the correction is very simple. If you do have a mistake in one of the journal entry, the correction will proceed through, let's say, some steps. So you reverse the previous entry. It means that this is the incorrect. You see the journal 1 is the incorrect journal entry. So the software will reverse this and then we record the correct, you see? So these are 3 steps that are important. So you can make the error. So the software, when correcting the invoice, simple as that, the software will be reversing the previous and we record the correct. You see? And to make it traceable. In addition, so in the comments of the journal entry, you see adjustment. Okay, you see adjustment of what? Of the invoice number 2245. Okay, and it's a reversal. You see, reversal of a journal number 1, which is corrected in the journal number 3. You see, all the description is talking about why we are reversing this journal 1. Okay, so if you would like to see all of these transactions that are with correction, of course, you can make it traceable. So all of this is to protect the information. So we can we can make sure that even though we do have corrections, so the corrections will be traceable in all cases on the software. So you cannot remove from the system something that you processed, and that's the beauty of the software. So if you do have employees, you don't have to worry about all of this, because these employees, if they recorded the transaction will never be deleted. So it's going to be always shown on the system, even though we would like to reverse it or to adjust it. So going back to the system. So guys, simple as that. If you have an invoice, and let me click on an invoice, as simple as that. We click on this one. Okay, you select. All right. If I do have a mistake in the invoice, so you remember, guys, I can click on adjust the invoice. When clicking on the adjust the invoice, now I am able to do whatever I want. So I can change the quantity. I can change. I do the necessary adjustments. You see, but by clicking on process after doing the adjustment, the system will be considering this adjustment as what? As correction. And this correction, how we treat it? We reverse and then we record the correct one. So that's why I say that, okay, every time you are adjusting an invoice, make sure that the system will be making it traceable. So we will discover that you made an adjustment on the system by just looking at these corrections. Guys, is it clear up to this level? So I was just making a refreshment on all the parts that we covered before. Okay.
Yes, Professor, it's clear.
It's clear, no questions, everything is okay? Okay, guys, let's go now to the session date. And I would like to ask you a question about it. So what's the difference between a session date and a transaction date? So what's the difference? But because the system, we have the session date, and we have also a transaction date, the transaction date that we use in when creating a particular invoice or a payment, of course. Invoice payment, or if you go to clients and revenues, it's what? It's an invoice or receipt or collection. So what's the main difference between a transaction date and a session date? So what's a session date in general? What is the session date? Okay, we talked about this session date before. If you would like to change it, so what's the importance of the session date in the software?
To allow transactions in the future. This is not the session date.
It's okay. Okay, any other thoughts? Session date? Okay, so guys, if I change the session date, I would put now not let's say August 31st, but I would put, let's say, March 31st, and I click on OK. I'm trying to what? I'm trying to change the session date to become March 31st. What is the importance of this session date? So before it was August 31st, now it is March 31st. Okay, I will be showing to you something important, especially for the session date. Okay, we're going to wait until this session date will change to become March 31st, because we were in August 31st. Now it is okay, it's fine. We changed it to March 31st. All right, so we are in under the suppliers and expenses, okay? If we're going to create or to display one of the reports existing for this menu or module of suppliers and expenses, and I go as an example to aged overdue supplier invoice detail. Aged overdue supplier invoice detail and a display. What are we going to see? You will find what in this report? You see that aged overdue supplier invoices detail. So I'm going to see in this report something to tell me at the session date, and based on the historical transactions that we recorded. Okay, do we have some invoices or outstanding invoices, and particularly supplier invoices that were not yet paid, and we're going to classify these not yet paid invoices in terms of what? In terms of age. Okay, what is the age? Here for the age we have 1 to 30 days overdue, or 31 to 60 days overdue, or more than 61 days overdue. It means that past due by 60 days, past due by 30 days, etc. So we're talking about the age of the invoice or the outstanding invoice that is not paid. In this example, by selecting that the date is March, you see that the session date is what? Is March 31st, 2023. Okay? At March 31st, 2023, we have only one invoice. You see? If you put yourself at March 31st, okay? You have only one invoice, which is the invoice number 380, with the supplier, Data International Corporation. You see the date? Look at the date. The date of the invoice. It's March 2nd, 2023. What is the due date? In other words, we talk about maturity, right? So it's going to be May 1st. Okay, so if you put yourself at March 31st, which is the session date, okay, do you have something overdue? No. All of these are what? Current. Current, it means that what? This is a liability or accounts payable that is not yet due. So we're talking about something current, so we still have the time to pay. And if the maturity date or the date or due date is May 1st, in other words, we still have approximately one month to pay for this supplier. So if we're going to change the date, for example, if you change your position, okay, how's that? I'm going to select another session date. And on purpose, I will say June 1st. Okay, change the session date to become the same as June 1st. And we'll see later when we have to display this age overdue supplier invoice details, we'll see what's going to be shown. You see, guys, the difference. Now, if I put this myself at June 1st, this invoice and this amount of 1,000, as they say that this is the total of 1,575, now is no more presented as current, but it's what? It's presented as what? Overdue. So it's let's say an invoice that we reached the due date and we didn't pay it yet. But in addition to this, not only that it's overdue, we're trying to classify the age of this overdue invoice. So is it overdue by 1 to 30 days? No, it's more. 31 to 60 days. Okay, 31 to 60 days. Why? Because you see the date of the invoice is March 2nd. Okay, and if you put yourself on June 1st, you see, you know that the maturity or the due date is May 1st. Okay, May 1st. So if you go to June 1st, so you are in a past due by 31 to 60 days. If I change the date, for example, to be, as an example, see that May 30th, you will find it in overdue by 1 to 30 days. See, so it's a matter, this is a matter of classification. Is this important for the user to know these aged overdue supplier invoices? The example is so basic, it's so simplistic, because just we have only one supplier that we're checking. But in reality, if we do have many suppliers to check, of course it's going to be so important, so interesting. Okay. If you don't like to see the details, because in this aged overdue supplier invoice details, so you can find them one by one, invoice by invoice. But if you go to present, if you do have a database that is huge or important, so you can opt for a summary. Okay, age overdue supplier invoice summary. Okay, so now we're not going to present them invoice by invoice. So we're going to present them what? Supplier by supplier. So we're going to all the suppliers. So this is to present, of course, the Data International Corporation. This is the only supplier that we have in the overdue, but we're doing the sum of all the invoices that are overdue for this supplier, and this is important because it's going to make to the user the possibility to check the total due and the total overdue. And we present it also with the age. One more thing, guys, but you know that these are the nice features that we can find in the software to help the manager in taking decisions about the company, etc. But you know the classification of the age of this invoice or this overdue amount or not yet due amount. So it could be possible that for the age, for example, the system is offering from 1 to 30 days, from 31 to 60 days, from 60 or over 61 days. But if you would like to change this period, for example, you would like to narrow the period, for example, and say that please opt for a classification of past due or overdue by 1 to 10 days, 11 to I don't know, 20 days, 21 days or more. So you'd like to narrow it. So if it's important for you, or if you'd like to enlarge or to, let's say, extend the period, so you are able and you are capable of doing that. So you're going to set up, you can click on set up, settings. Under setup and settings, you have a lot of things. So for example, if you're going to suppliers and expenses, you click on options. You see for the aging 30, 60, and 90, right? So you can change all of this. So you can opt for 10, 20, 30. And you click on OK, just you validate it. And you go to the same aged overdue supplier invoice details and you click on display. And you'll see what is going to happen. You see that period will change. You see, it's overdue. Okay, we know that at June 1st, 2023, this invoice is overdue. Is overdue by what? Okay, so more than 21 days. Simple as that. Okay. So you can change this period, and you do have the possibility to change that period. So I'll go back, set up settings, and I go back to the original situation. So supplies and expenses options, and I go back to 30, 60, 90. Okay, guys, do you have any particular question before that we proceed or we move on to the clients and revenues? Okay, if no questions, so we can move on to clients and revenues, and all what we saw in the supplies and expenses still valid for clients and revenue. So you can click on the client invoices to see how many invoices we created. So you click on client invoices and find invoice. Okay, and you can make a search, see, of how many invoices we created. So you see, guys, the list of invoices that were created. The maximum of search is what? Is June 1st, 2023. So we have just one invoice that we created. That was a software corporation, the invoice number 1, and was recorded in transaction number 10. So the original amount is 3,290. You can click, you can select. Okay, you can see the details on this invoice. All right, going back to this session date, and I will change it one more time to become, I'll get back to the August 31st. I will change the session date. You will see why is important, the session date. So it looks like what? The session date is like the position that you would like to ask the software to take when editing, when preparing the reports. That's why it's important that we discuss the importance of the session date. And I go to client invoices and I click on find invoice and go to the list. You see? So nothing special. So still have only one invoice that is existing there. And was this invoice paid or not? You see that if I click on find invoice, you see that I do have this invoice. Was it paid, this invoice, or not yet?
It's
Guys,
not
are you there?
it's not paid.
It's not yet paid, right? It's not yet paid. So you see the amount owing is 3,290, you see it, but also without even checking it, because you can find the 3,290, you see it there? See in the list and the database of the clients. These are the balances of what? Of accounts receivable. Account receivable of for each client, for each customer. Action line we have 2,000. For software corporation we have 3,290. Okay. How to make a payment? Not a payment, a collection. Because we have here two outstanding invoices, right? Two outstanding invoices. Action line and software corporation. So if you put yourself, okay, I'll change the session date one more time. Let's make it March 31st. Okay, and we go to these reports and we go to a similar report that we saw with the other module about suppliers and expenses, and I go to aged overdue client invoices details. Okay, guys, we have here something interesting. We have two invoices that are outstanding. Outstanding, not yet due. I'll say not yet due. And we have an invoice that is not yet due, and we have an invoice that is overdue. For action line, this is an invoice number A620. The date of the transaction was on November 25th, 2022. It was one of these invoices that we entered when we talked about the history of the company, you remember? So when we created the company database, etc., we were recording this, and we entered this as what? As a history. Because this transaction has been processed on November 25th, 2022. And the session date is March 31st, 2023. And you can see, guys, that it's overdue by more than 61 days. It makes sense because if you put yourself on March 31st, 2023, because you see that the due date is November 25th, 2022, so it's a past due by more than 61 days. So of course this past due, this age is important for the particularly this account receivable, because these are sales invoices, not purchasing invoices. So what you can see here is the total outstanding of what? Of account receivable. The older is the receivable, the more risky is the collection. This is important to help the accountant, to help the manager of the company to estimate what we call the doubtful accounts. These accounts or this account receivable that we're not certain about the collection. So we're doubting whether we will be collecting this money in the future. So it's overdue by 61 days. Yes. So it's too much. You see that it's too much. But of course, you have to work on these 2,000. You see that you have to go. You have to sue this client, right? Action line for that. So if you do have this roadmap of just if it is past due by 15 days, you send an email. After 30 days, you can just call the client. You see that it's past due by 1 month. And then you go what we call gradually. Before you're going to think about suing this client. Anyways, this is a past due by more than 61 days, so it's overdue. So it's so risky amount of receivable as compared to the second one, software corporation. If your position is March 31st, 2023, the invoice is current. What do you mean by current? So we still have period to pay, to receive the money, you see, because it's not yet due. The due date is May 6th, 2023. So May 6th it's still current if you put the position of March 31st. All right, anyways, so this is just a reminder of the things. Guys, I'm going to use the software and I'm going to ask you the question now. So we finished this review and let's go to some interaction for today's session. So this action line, this balance of 2,000, imagine that today, not today, that's not necessarily today. Imagine that on March 15th, action line, the customer action line, paid the company for this 2,000 euro outstanding. How can I record this payment? How can I record this payment? See that we have a balance outstanding of 2,000 euro. So how to record this payment? I said that for the client is a payment. For the company is a collection or receipts, right? How can we create this receipt? So you go to receipts and you click on create receipt. Okay, and we're going to fill in this details. First, you have to select this client or customer. So we'll talk about action line. So the system will be offering automatically the list of all the amounts outstanding for this client or for this customer. So, all right, simplicities for the example. So it's only one invoice that is outstanding. It's the invoice number A620. The original amount is 2,000, you see, and you have to fill in what we call the amount received. Okay, but before that we go to the amount received. What is the system that we receive the money from this customer with? So is it by check? Is it by cash? Or is it by pre-authorized debit? You see the pre-authorized debit, or in other words, it's let's say a bank transfer from the client to the seller, right? So from the customer to the seller. So if you say cash, you can click on cash. It is check, so you click on check. And if it is, for example, check, so you can say that this is the check number So you enter the check number. So of course this is a proof, this is the evidence that we received the money. So I say the check number 500, okay. Receipt number 2, it means what? So it means we collected something before, and now it is the second receipt, okay? So this is receipt number 2. And then if you're going to click on process, there's something that will be blocking you on. You see that no amount has been entered, you see? No amount. So what is the amount that you received? So you have 2,000 outstanding. What is the amount received? It's important to notice something. If you go on this, if you click on discount taken, you see that the system will not be offering any discount. Why? Because there is no discount. Simple as that. Because this invoice, there is no discount. And also the discount will be automatically calculated by just making reference to the date of payment. So for example, if the date of payment is March 31st, we say that we can change, of course, the date of payment to say that March 15th. Okay, no problems. And the entire 2,000 will be received. Okay, so imagine that. And before that you click on process, you can see the journal entry and how the journal entry will look like. So you can click on report, display receipt. So you can see that the debit is the checking bank account and the credit is account receivable. So the debit is the checking bank account. So we debit the cash and we credit accounts receivable. The journal entry is fine, so you can click on process. And this is the journal number 12. This is the 12th transaction that we are recording in the system. The advisor is not the first time that we talk about the advisor. The advisor is important to manage, and it's going to be so helpful for the manager to track the things that are important. Look at the advisor. Your checking account is overdrawn. What do I mean by overdrawn? So it looks like what? It's a bank overdraft. You see that the bank overdraft, you have to remember the difference between a loan and a bank overdraft. Guys, the bank overdraft, it means what? It's something related to your bank account, but your bank account, you don't have sufficient fund, you see? It looks like it's negative bank account. So that's exactly what you have there. Your checking bank account, even though you received the money, you received the 2,000, but this money that we collected from the customer or this transfer that we get will not be going to make this account or this bank account positive. So it's what we call the bank overdraft. All right, bank overdraft. How can we check? Because the advisor said that please check this balance of this account. So how can I check the balance of this account, particularly the checking bank account? Okay, how can I check the balance? We have multiple ways to check the balance. Could you please offer one of the possibilities to check the balance of the account? Checking bank account is the amount, is the account is 1060, the account number 1060. How can I check the balance of this account? Using the software.
From the company model, we display the accounts.
Okay, so which menu I have, which module I have to click on first?
Company.
Yes, company. That's right. Under the company module, you have multiple ways, multiple possibilities. So you can click on the chart of account. You remember the chart of account? And you can find the balance. You see the balance of this checking bank account. You see it's what is negative. Minus 1,983. So the Callis advisor is talking about what? Even though you receive 2,000 from the customer, but still this checking bank account still negative. In the bank overdraft, just to let you know something, the bank overdraft now it looks like a loan. Be careful. The bank overdraft is treated from the bank perspective like a what? Like a loan. But the only difference that this bank overdraft, a loan, yes, but the interest rate, it's so high. Okay? But in other words, if you contract a loan, contracting a loan, of course, the interest rate will be lower. So if you don't have money in your checking bank account, you should ask for a loan. So in this loan, of course, the interest rate will be lower than the interest rate that we have in the bank overdraft. The bank overdraft, all right, let me say something, guys. The bank overdraft in Tunisia, on average, is around 12%. Around 12%. Okay, 12% is too high as compared to what? As compared to a regular loan, because a regular loan you can get it at 8%. You can get it at 8.5%, but not at 12%. You see that 12% is too much. So that's why the advisor is stating it clear. Now you have to check all of this. Guys, I do have a possibility نخرج من السيتويشن الخايبة هذه. What is it? Other than contracting a loan. مش عندك another account? You see that another account you have savings bank account, you see?
Yes.
All right. Is it possible that we transfer some cash or some money from the savings bank account to the checking bank account to let's say cover this shortage of 1,983? If yes, you have to tell me how can I record such a transaction? How can I validate it and how can I record it in the system? I'm talking about a transfer of money from savings bank account to the checking bank account.
In banking, in the banking module.
All right, so for the banking module, so we will have to talk about later, but yes, it is possible that we use it. Okay, it's possible that we use the banking, but I will talk about this when we will cover the banking module. That's right. Okay, it's one of the pathways that is possible to use. I absolutely confirm and validate. But in general, we do have always the possibility to use something so basic and it's so simple to understand. You see, guys, you click on the company module, and in the company module, you have the general journal, right?
Yes.
Yeah, guys, if you are, or if you would like to record something and you don't know how, you don't know a shortcut, like I don't know, for example, you go to clients' revenue, supplies, expenses, etc. So if you don't have any idea about how can we use the menu, etc., so we have a shortcut that is so simple. You click on the company, you click on the general journal, and you click on general journal, create a general journal. Okay? What I'm going to do is simple. I will be selecting the date to be March 15. And I will indicate a comment. A comment on what? On the transaction that I'm going to record. What is it? Transfer. Transfer. From saving to checking. Clear? So you can indicate the source. Source what? If you don't have a bank or a bank transfer, of course you can have the proof, you can have the evidence. So you have just to write, for example, the source number of the document. I can say bank memo. number 100. Okay, and what shall I do? I will debit an account. What is it? I'm going to inject money in what? In checking bank account. So you click on with the account number 1060 checking bank account. You see, guys, you're going to debit this account by 1990. What is this 1990? Okay. And you go to the second line. From where you will take this money? You see that the debit of the checking bank account, because we're going to increase the checking bank account by a decrease of another account. The other account is what? You're taking this money from the savings bank account. Make sense? For the same amount, 1990. All right, so this is the journal entry, simple as that. You see that you debit this account, you credit this account, and this is the comment. As we saw in all the other menus, we still have always the possibility to click on report. And to see the journal entry, like we saw the journal entries before in the other modules. Which account is debited, which account is sorry, is credited, is 1990. You see, debit and credit. If you validate it, you click on process. So this transaction was processed successfully. And after processing this transaction, is there any advisor that is appearing now? No. So everything is okay. It means that what? There is no problems. Okay, there is no problems at all. So it means that we do have positive in both accounts. So if you would like to check, you can go to the chart of account and do check what? The checking bank account and the savings bank account. You see, I have $10 in the savings bank account, and now we are positive in the checking bank account, $6.66. So we're fine. So we don't have any problem. So that's why there is no advisor appearing. Of course, guys, if you'd like to check the balance of your account, we have multiple ways. You can click on the chart of account, that is certain, but you can go to something else. You can go to the reports, and under the report center, you have multiple ways. Okay. I can go for example, I can click on trial balance. And you can find all the balances of all the accounts that you are using in the system, you see. So this is another way to check the balances of your accounts. Okay, whether it's zero, is non-zero, etc. So this is one of them, right? So you can click on the chart of account, you can click on the let's say the display and display the trial balance. Okay, and of course, guys, when displaying the trial balance, you can go for the ledger. Just would like to show you this important feature. So for example, if you'd like to see you see this is the balance of the savings bank account, but you'd like to know more details on what happened and how we arrive at this balance of 10. So you can just, you see the lookup icon that we have. So you click on savings bank account. And guys, you will find the ledger. You see what I mean by the ledger? You see, you have here from the savings bank accounts, what is the balance that we started with? We started with the balance of 2,200. This is the balance that we started with. Then we credited this, you see, they credited this account in the journal number 9. That was what? That was the money for charity event. So we spent, let's say, 200 out of the existing 2,200 on the charity event. So that's why the balance after the charity event payment is 2,000. And then we see that that was on March 15th. there is a bank transfer from the savings to the checking bank account. So the source is the bank memo number 100. That was recorded in the journal number 13, and this is the credit of 1,990. And now this is what? This is the balance or the outstanding balance for this account. Make sense? So every single account I would like to see the details on. For example, I can go to the other account. It's the checking bank account. You double click. You can find the list. You see, it reminds me what? This is the ledger. The ledger that we know in financial account. Okay, so this is the ledger. So we have all the details on this account, how this account increased, decreased, and of course with reference to the details on the transaction. Okay, you see that? Journal number 4, 6, 8, 11, 12, 13. Make sense? So don't forget that I have the possibility to go through this trial balance, and under this trial balance I can click on each account I prefer to see the details, and of course you can find everything you need. So computer supplies, you see the computer supplies, we started with 4,875 balance, and we purchased, this is the, you see the source, the invoice number 397, we purchased in the journal number 5 9,375. So the total, or the total outstanding balance at you see March 31st 2023 is 14,250. That's it. So we're discovering the features. You see that you can ask me, sir, where is it, the ledger? The ledger is there. So you click on the trial balance, and under the trial balance, again, you click on the account that you prefer, and you can see the details. Guys, do you have any particular question? Are you okay? Are you fine? So, okay, I'm lecturing, but I would like to check on you, whether you are okay, you're understanding the things that I'm working on.
Just one thing, I think that there are some entries that I didn't make, so sometimes I don't find the same balance. So if possible, please can you upload the journal entries or something?
Absolutely, absolutely. So I will, before that we go for a break, by the way, guys, we can take a short break of 5 minutes if you prefer. I will be uploading to the BA platform. Just you go to the BA platform. I will be uploading a backup. So let me go. I say that file. I click on backup. Say April 13. Okay. Okay, guys. By the way, you can take a break of 5 minutes. At the meantime, I'm going to upload this backup to your course page on ba.platform.tm, right? So, and you can download it. And before that, we start the second half of the session. So you can use the same file that I'm using, right?
Thank you, sir.